What is an eclipse? According to NASA, an eclipse happens when one object in space, like a planet or moon, passes through the shadow of another object in space. You must be thinking or wondering, what does an eclipse have to do with complex trauma? Turns out that on April 8th of 2024, I saw the solar eclipse. And today, I want to share how C-PTSD impacted my experience of watching the eclipse. Hi, I am Raysa, a survivor of narcissistic abuse, and I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And you are listening to Hello Trauma Brain, a podcast where I share my experiences living with complex PTSD. My hope is this podcast can help destigmatize mental health and provide support to anyone diagnosed with C-PTSD who thinks they might have it or has a loved one with this diagnosis. Quick reminder, I am not a licensed psychologist or mental health care professional, and this podcast is not meant to replace nor substitute the care of psychologists, other mental or medical health care professionals. If you think you might have complex PTSD or PTSD, please reach out to your primary care or mental health care provider. Any individuals and resources mentioned in this episode are not sponsoring Hello Trauma Brain. This episode may reference trauma or abuse, and listener discretion is advised. Remember, you can always pause or skip this episode at any time. And now, let's get back to the episode. Hello, dear survivors, and welcome to this episode of Hello Trauma Brain. Thank you for joining me today. If you are listening on YouTube, a gentle reminder to subscribe and hit the like button to let me know this episode was helpful. Quick check-in. So I was traveling this weekend, and I'm gonna try to keep this week's episode short because I am a little behind schedule. And my trip was interesting. I I met up with a very good friend of mine, and life happens. Something happened. I won't go into detail right now, so I think I actually want to make that into an episode at one point. But essentially, nature and something completely out of our control happened, and it really stirred the plants and impacted them. Like the plants that we had were stirred completely upside down for quite a bit of the trip. And I have to say, though, I learned a very valuable lesson, which is how less stressful a stressful situation can be when you are with a person that's healthy, that's doing this healing work, that's staying regulated, and is when the person in the room with you is solutions based. Wow, what a difference does it make. I have to say I'm very grateful that this person was with me because in the past, either being on my own doing something like that, or quite frankly, gosh, if I would have been on my own, I don't know that I would have. I don't know what I would have done. But definitely also, like in the past, like being with a toxic or abusive person, they just make it worse. All of a sudden they start blaming you for something that was caused by Mother Nature, but all of a sudden it's somehow your fault for picking the place or for choosing to go around that time, or I don't even know. Like I'm just so it was very refreshing and new to see someone just like stay calm and not start cursing and yelling and screaming and calling and insulting, some random customer service person again for something that nobody could control. Like it's just, yeah, I know the person that I'm talking about listens to the podcast, and you know who you are, and I'm just thank you for thank you for being such a great role model and for helping me navigate that really hard situation. I know it was hard for both of us, and I'm just I'm delighted to have you as my friend, and I know that we will get to meet up in the future, and I may it not be as chaotic as this past time it was, and yet I no regrets. I would still do the trip again just to meet up with this person because I yeah, they're just a delight to be around, and even a delight to be around when chaos is happening. So that's definitely saying something, and I'm recovering from it. Like when you have a trip planned, when you're supposed to relax, and something happens and it stirs the whole thing, and then you come back and now you have to deal with asking for refunds and submitting pictures of the stuff that happened, and like uh, just one more thing to do for a very packed and heavy to-do list. Jeez. Jeez. I will say though, it's resolving very quickly. I already have part of the refund, and I think the rest is coming very soon. And quite frankly, I mean, it's just a matter of going through the process, and I'm trucking along. I think this will be resolved very soon, and my nervous system still needs to recover. And yeah, I was gonna record this yesterday, and I was like, it, I'm just gonna rest and just watch mindless TV, or not TV. I don't even have like cable. It's a basically streaming. I was streaming. I was just like, I'm just gonna keep streaming and just give myself just a break because my brain was just fried. And yeah, I that's where I'm at. So this week I want to keep it on the shorter end, because the more I talk, the more I have to edit. It's a little bit on the selfish side. Plus, I don't know that I can get like an hour's worth of talking about the eclipse and whatnot. So yeah, let's dive in. I live in the East Coast of the United States, and on the 8th, a few days ago, actually a week ago, as I'm recording this, exactly a week from when I'm recording this episode, I saw the solar eclipse. Now, I was on the path of partial, like there were areas where it was like a total eclipse, and I did like listen to in the like I had it on the background, like I heard some of the stream from NASA, and I did get to see some of the footage, and I have to say it was quite a visceral experience to hear other people experience the what it was to see the total eclipse. And maybe it's the empathy in me, and like, so I know my empathy is pretty heightened, and I really feel the things. And this not only goes for the eclipse, it goes for like even shows like sometimes I have to be careful what I'm watching because I really take it on. And that's, I think it goes back to last week's episode, the House of Boundaries. Like my boundaries have been so blurred out to the point where somebody else is suffering, like I really take it on. And that has been a big part of my healing journey, like not taking it on, like drawing a line between, you know, having empathy for someone else and not taking it on to the point where like it impacts my body and my nervous system negatively. But that aside, just taking the empathy piece and applying it to even hearing other people's experiences of the eclipse and seeing footage of, the streaming and the live stream that NASA was having on the different areas where the total eclipse was happening. Just hearing the people that were talking, that were doing the broadcast, like just hearing the reaction was just wow. Like it sounded so exciting because I was again in the partial path, so I didn't get total darkness over here, but it did get darker. And but there was something about when it was total, like when the whole thing was covered and they were broadcasting it, and I heard, honestly, it was a consistent reaction between all the different areas, because they basically like were going like on the different states, and every few minutes like a different state would be having the total, and they just like they would just move on to the next, I guess, to the next area. But let me tell you, the reaction was consistent. They were all in, just it was like awe. It was almost like the people broadcasting, like all these adults turn into like 2-year-old kids for like 2 to 4 minutes, and they were just in awe of how beautiful and incredible and special it was to experience it. And I remember one of them, or a few of them, were saying that even compared to the one like 7 years ago, I think, because we had one a few years ago, like they were saying that this one was better. And gosh, that was quite an incredible experience to like hear other people. Now, the reason I decided to make an episode on this is because especially now, this is the first eclipse that I experienced where since I started healing, since I discovered that I had complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, I feel like this experience was a thing for previous eclipses I have witnessed, but I didn't have the language. I didn't know that was a thing. I just thought something was really just wrong with me. And this time, not that those feelings don't come up, but this time I was more aware. And even as I reflected back later that day, and then as I'm recording this unscripted, another unscripted episode, y'all. As I reflect now, I have to say, C-PTSD makes stuff like that harder. Like, the moment I perceive something to be special, and this eclipse, there's billboards on this eclipse. Another one's not gonna come around this area for another 20 years, or another one that's gonna be like of this magnitude. Honestly, I don't understand it very well. I'm not an eclipse expert by any means, but yeah, like, actually, I should. Let me go ahead and give you what NASA describes as a solar eclipse. Let's start there. So NASA says when the sun's light is blocked by the moon, it is an eclipse of the sun, also called a solar eclipse. This kind of eclipse happens when the moon moves in just the right place between the sun and Earth. A solar eclipse happens during the daytime. The daylight grows dim. If you are in the right place on Earth, the moon blocks almost all of the sunlight. The moon's shadow falls on Earth. Daytime can look as dark as night during a solar eclipse. Solar eclipses happen on Earth every 18 months. They last for a few minutes. Now, I guess because of the Earth's rotation, like, even if it can be like every 18 months, like, it's, if you're living in the same area, like, it's not going to come around your specific area every 18 months. Like, this is a special occasion, essentially. That's how I consider it. And the moment my brain registers this is a special event, the OCD just kicks in. So my C-PTSD has a lot of symptoms. One of the ways my C-PTSD manifests is through a lot of anxiety, and that anxiety comes out as OCD. So let me walk you through the process of, even before the eclipse day, buying the glasses. The process of buying the glasses. As a trauma survivor, purchasing things for me is hard. The more options there are, the worse it gets for me. Like, when I am in a store and I'm looking at the aisle and there's like 15 different types of toothpaste, it is overwhelming. Raise your hand out there if you know what I'm talking about. Isn't it annoying? It's like my brain can't handle. It's too much information. That's really what it feels like. It's so much information. So when I am on Amazon scrolling through, trying to find glasses, are they certified? Are they safe? Like, it's just overwhelming. And add to that the pressure of, I better get the right ones because, they say you can go blind or your vision can be impacted if you look at it. If you're watching the eclipse, like, you can't just see it with the naked eye. And that's a lot of pressure for somebody like me. Like, my tolerance for risks is very low. It doesn't take a lot to scare me. You tell me it's harmful and I'm avoiding it like the plague. That's how I am. So yeah, buying the glasses was a trigger. Like, definitely stirred the anxiety in me. And I'm like trying to text friends, like, like, anybody know about the glasses? Like, are these gonna be safe? Like, what are you getting? And I also waited till the last minute. Like, I kept meaning to ask people sooner, and the next thing I know, I'm like doing it like 2 days to basically the day before the eclipse. And I'm like, okay, so I get the glasses, and I basically, like, I was at work, and I because the glasses come in a pack of like, there's more than one, so I like basically, like, whoever else wanted to watch, I was like, help yourselves to some of these extra pairs. Um, go out there, and at first I'm pretty present. And I'm like focused. I'm like fascinated about like how like you can see the little bit of like it starts like, and it was like for me in my area it was like the lower right corner. You just like you can start seeing like someone's like taking a bite of the sun. It's fascinating. So you start seeing the little slither, like a little munch of a bite of the sun, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And it looked like it was gonna be total. Like honestly, it was pretty close, but not to the point of like what I was like what NASA was streaming. Like that was total. Now looking back, but something that happened was like the OCD is kicking in, the anxiety is kicking in, because I have this thing with the perfectionism where like I want the moment to be perfect, and there's a lot of pressure that still comes up for me for stuff like that. So I'm like trying to like, doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to be perfect. The moment's not gonna be perfect. It's all good. I remember like the first time because I would come out and like just like take a peek and then come back, and I was working, so we all kept doing that at work. We would like come out for a few minutes and then keep checking in. I started like feeling like my eyes feel weird, and I'm like, and I knew it deep down. It's like I knew the glasses like were doing the thing, and they were okay, but a part of me is like scared that I'm gonna go blind, and I had a mini panic attack at work in the middle of waiting out for the peak of this eclipse. So then it's getting close to the time, and the clouds roll right on time to cover it, of course. And then people start like taking off the glass and going like, "Oh, you can see it without them." And they're like, "Come on, Raysa, take them off, take them off. It's okay, it's okay." And I, for a moment, for like a very just like not even a second, I like just like took a glance without the glasses, and I like quickly just freaked out. And then I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go blind now," and I'm just freaking the f out. I'm gonna go blind. I'm gonna go blind. I'm gonna go blind. And granted, when I looked up, it was just the clouds. Like you couldn't see the actual thing, but it's still like it was just like then the rumination starts. Why did I look? Why did I listen? Why didn't I just follow my gut instinct? Why did I have to do it for 1 second? What if I now my vision? Like I am ruminating and ruminating and ruminating and just thinking about it obsessively and just worrying about it. And then this is around the time of the peak. So now like the thoughts of, oh no, I ruined it. I ruined the moment. Now I missed the eclipse because, not because of the clouds, like even though the clouds did annoy me and that was its own thing. Now I'm thinking, oh no, I was annoyed. I shouldn't have been annoyed. I should have been happy. I should have been just enjoying it. Why am I not present? Oh my gosh, I just, yeah, that's welcome to my brain. That was almost the name of this podcast, but instead I called it Hello Trauma Brain. This is what being inside of my brain looks like. I can't even spend 2 hours, not even 2 hours, just take the 20 minutes where it gets very exciting and like it starts looking great, and then it peaks, and then it starts, going back to, right? 20 minutes. I can't have 20 minutes of peace to watch a solar eclipse. And that is what having C-PTSD feels like. When everybody else, at least to me, they seem like them, they could very well be struggling with the same crap inside of them and they're just not saying anything. But to me, everybody else seemed pretty present, and they were just enjoying this incredible feast of nature. And I did enjoy it, but I also had all that crap going on in the background. And it is so hard to enjoy something when your brain is just, am I going to go blind? Why did I do that? Why am I feeling this way? I shouldn't feel that. I shouldn't have done that. My brain is going a million miles an hour. And I just want for the thing to just shut up for like 20 minutes so I can enjoy the eclipse. Is that too much to ask? Oy. So, yeah, that was watching the eclipse. And then I feel like the rumination was there for a bit. And then I really, really felt it, like just the grief of, and that's the thing, like I'm aware this year I am aware of what my brain goes through. Before, I would have been ruminating and just trying to like do mental gymnastics to make the rumination go away, but not really realize that I was having like OCD rumination. It would be more of like just just desperately trying to cope with something I had no name for. But now that I have names for all these things, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it gets exhausting to notice it. It's exhausting to be aware of it. And it brings grief too. It's like, how is there anything in my life that I can do where CPTSD doesn't get in the way of it? Maybe the answer to that is no. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm not asking for the CPTSD to go away like it was never there. I mean, it would be nice if it did. But, my expectations are managed in that arena. Like, I know this process is not going to cure it. At least not the way not with the knowledge we have about CPTSD now, the therapy modalities, none of them are promising me a cure. Like, they are promising me, or offering, I should say, the possibility of managing, coping, learning how to navigate things with the things in the background, I guess. But yeah, I figured I share my experience watching the eclipse with complex PTSD and how complex PTSD got in the way as as much as it could. And if you had a similar experience during the eclipse, I hope you can feel and take from this episode the fact that you are not alone. I struggle too. Sadly, I wish this episode was all about how incredible it was, and my CPTSD disappeared for 2 hours, but no, the CPTSD was still there, watching the eclipse with me. It was watching the eclipse with me. That's the thing about this podcast. I realize these things as I'm talking, especially for unscripted episodes. I'm just like babbling away, and all of a sudden, like a little nugget just comes out. And the CPTSD was with me. And it's always with me. That's the thing. It's always with me, even on the day of the eclipse. Even on special days, on regular days, when I am traveling, when the part of the traveling is going great, and when Mother Nature decides to throw a curveball. It's always there. It's always there. And I'm going to briefly take the eclipse, to an extra step and use it as a metaphor, because you all know how I love my metaphors. That's kind of what healing, like the start of healing, feels like. Like when the eclipse goes into that total view where like everything just turns dark. And I experienced it a little bit. I was again on the path of partial, the partial eclipse. And where I was, it got colder. You can definitely feel it. It got a little bit darker. So it kind of looked like, actually, one of my coworkers had a good word for it, or a good way to describe it. She said, like, kind of looks like it's going to be, like, it looks stormy. Like, it looks like it's going to rain soon. That's what it looked like. It looked like it was going to get stormy. I didn't experience the animals and stuff, but I know that I kept hearing on the broadcast that the animals over there and like the birds and the critters were getting very confused because it got dark for them. So they thought, like, especially the creatures, the critters, the animals, birds, like that at night, that's when they become active. Like they started like coming out, and then all of a sudden, like, it's only a few minutes and then it gets light again. And they were all acting very confused. And that's really, like, that captures the healing experience, especially at the beginning. It's almost like it gets really dark at a very unusual time of your life, and everything just gets thrown out of whack. And, the system doesn't know what to do. Like, that is a great metaphor for capturing what a nervous system that's healing feels like. It's just like the nervous system doesn't know what to do. Your body doesn't know what to do. Your mind and your brain are just confused. I feel like, with how rare eclipses are, at least for them to happen in the same area, I feel like if you're willing to travel, you might catch more during your lifetime. But I feel like as a trauma survivor, I'm a little bit like a rare eclipse. And the people that I've been meeting that are healing, like, they're rare eclipses with me. And the reason I'm saying that is because the majority is not doing this work. The majority is not going through the process of doing all this healing. Like, it's not a lot of us out there that are seeing things for what they actually are and are actually going through this process of healing it and addressing it and doing something about it. Like, we're not many. I hope we become the majority at one point. I hope more of us keep joining to the point where it's common to do this, right? And it kind of like flips it. But as I stand here today, a healing trauma survivor is an eclipse. We're rare creatures out there doing this work, and it throws things off of balance in many ways. But what a sight. Just take that in. If you feel like this has thrown everything out of whack for you and you feel like you're struggling and just, where's the light, right? I'm still thinking about the people broadcasting just reacting to how beautiful it was when it was pitch black, super, super dark. Like, how special that view was, how special it was to witness that. And I want to take that and apply to those dark moments in our healing when it might look very scary. And yet, if you look up with the glasses on, or I think you can take them off when it's total, actually. But when you look up, something really beautiful is out there. It's far, far into the horizon. Just, outside of the planet, we can't touch it, but it's there. And that's what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for that moment of beauty. I'm shooting for that moment when things can get better and stay better, at least for a bit. Yeah, healing. It feels like a rare opportunity, and I really hope that as more of us speak up, as more of us do this work, I really hope that the time comes where it's not so rare, it's not so unattainable or hard to come by. I really, really hope that it becomes something accessible to everybody. Because honestly, if I had a wish, it would be that everybody would get an opportunity to go through a process of healing like this and improve their lives. Because as much as I have suffered and as much as this has been a very hard experience, I can say my life has been better too. And I'll go back to the check-in. This trip was to meet in person with someone I've been friends for a while now, but someone I only knew online. I met them through the healing journey, a newer friend. And just to have the experience of going on a trip with someone so wonderful, someone so good for my nervous system, someone so loving and so caring and just someone who's working very hard in their healing. That's a gift. That is such a gift. And to know that there's more people like that in my life. I am honestly in awe of the chosen family I'm building, of the people that are just, a part of that circle and are, they're just adding so much to my life. And when I look at that, when I look at the fact that I have been making these great relationships, these beautiful friendships, they have blossomed into, beautiful members of my chosen family. When I look at that, I feel so proud that I'm able to do that now. I feel proud that I'm able to not only, find these people, but keep them. Like, they also want to be in my life. Like, they want me in their lives. I'm proud of this podcast. I'm proud of what I'm doing here. I'm proud of the growth that I have done. I know I have become a better person. I'm not perfect yet, and I guess I won't be perfect ever, but I'm definitely a better person than I was before I started healing. I'm learning to handle situations better. I think I'm setting a good example for other people, and I am learning to appreciate things that I didn't appreciate before. And yeah, it's just An eclipse is such a rare event that can offer so much beauty. And I would say the same goes for healing. So, yeah, that's my little rant on the eclipse and the experience of watching it as someone who has complex post-traumatic stress disorder. In this week's healing invitation, I want to offer you something to reflect about. I didn't realize this before or during the eclipse, but after the fact, I heard some people bring up that like eclipses can be a time for reflecting on your life, an invitation for a rebirth, for changes, for things to just, I guess evolve. And even though I wasn't cognizant of it as I was watching the eclipse, I do want to offer that to all of us this week. That idea of reflecting on your life, reflecting on the things that need to be reborn. What part of your life needs to change? What relationships? What decisions you've made in the past year? How is that playing out? And taking the eclipse as a call to really think about having a fresh start. And what would that look like? And granted, we can't just, scrap everything and start from literal scratch. But sometimes, a rebirth can be something small. A little thing can go a long way. So yeah, I invite you to reflect on that. And if there is something that you can pinpoint that needs to change or needs to shift, are there any steps you can take in that direction? And imagine how that could look like. And based on your reflection, are you able to start taking some steps towards it? And again, a little goes a long way. And granted, we don't need an eclipse for permission to reflect on our lives and how to make shifts and changes. But given that it was a recent event, the opportunity is there and the invitation to make the reflection is here. And as always, please let me know how this week's healing invitation goes if you choose to accept it. Before we wrap up this episode, all music and production is courtesy of yours truly. Also, I want to share a few ways you can help support this podcast. You can subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or the platform you are using to listen. Share this episode with anyone you can think can benefit from this content. Follow Hello Trauma Brain on Instagram with the handle @HelloTraumaBrain. Subscribe to the Hello Trauma Brain YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to know when I post a new episode. And you can make a donation by getting me a coffee through the official bio site. No worries, all links will be provided in the show notes. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. I wish you the best as you reflect on the eclipse and any parts of your life that need to be reborn. It is time for our farewell affirmations. You are welcome to repeat after me. I am enough. I am lovable. And I deserve to heal. I wish you a gentle week and thank you for listening.